So here you have your weather bot. You're on design at this point. You're going to click on main. And here you are on your main page. I'm going to pull up the instructions on this side and shift this here. And I'm going to just go a little bit like this so I can have some more space to play around with. I'm just going to read the instructions and go through that. So we launched this, we did the blank, we created a weatherbot, I called it weatherbot 3. So now you'll have a blank project on your screen. Your next step is to begin your bot sequence, which is a container for the instructions that the bot will follow when run. You can double click on the word sequence or drag drop it. So what you're doing is here, you're going to be on this activities. And these are all the activities that you can drag in here. And so what it's telling you is you want to drag in this sequence. So it's in our My Favorites. You can drag that in here, or you can actually search for it here. So I'm going to drag it and drop it here, and so you'll see my sequence. And so I'm going to drag it. If you don't see the sequence activity, search for it. Number 4, now search for input and drag the input dialog activity into your sequence. And so I'm going to search here for input dialog, and so I see input dialog is right here. And so I'm going to drag that inside my sequence, and so I get something like this, which matches this. Now we will modify the properties of the input dialog so it will ask the right questions. Click on the title itself here where it says text must be quoted and enter get the weather including the quotes. So I'm going to put the quotes, get the weather. Okay, and then click on the label, text must be quoted right here, and enter a city name, so including the quotes. So I'm going to start the quotes, enter a city name, and then including the quotes by pressing click F5 or click the green run button to test out your bot. So we can click this right here and test it out. And so I see a little dialog that comes up. I can pull it up and it says, get the weather, enter a city. So it's working so far. Next, we need to store the result of what the user tells the robot their location is into a variable. If your input dialog isn't currently highlighted, so it's saying in yellow, it's supposed to be blue for us. So I'm just going to click on that. Click on the blank part of this title bar. So here it is. Here's the blank part. Now on the left, click on the field that the arrow is pointing to below. The instructions in italics will appear. So here it is. Here's my result right here. Okay, so I'm going to put my cursor there, and I'm going to right-click it, and it says a bunch of things will come up. I'm going to click on Create Variable, and it's going to say Set Variable, and the phrase Set Name in this new version says Set Variable will appear. Type City next to that without the quotation marks this time and press Enter. This creates a string that will store the value that the user has entered, which the bot can now reuse later. Okay, so now when this is inputted, it's going to go into a variable name called city. Okay, so next, drag and drop another sequence. So I'm going to go back here to my favorites, and I'm going to drop another sequence from the activities panel, place it right below the input dialog. So I'm going to grab another one and put it right underneath the input dialog. So it looks like this, and it says now double click the white space inside the retrieve data, weather data. Okay, sorry, I didn't read it. Place it right below the input dialog, rename it to retrieve weather data. So I'm going to click on this space, right click it, and it says rename. So I can rename it to retrieve weather data. Doing this step will make your workflow clean and easy to follow. So then I go here and says now next double click the white space inside your retrieve weather box, which takes you to a new sequence you just created, which is similar to this. We have this. Next, return to the activities panel and search for the open browser. So I'm going to search here for open browser. I'm going to then drag that activity into the retrieve weather data. And so this was the main, then we had a sequence, which was the input dialog, and then I'm here because I double clicked it and I'm in the retrieve weather. I dragged in an open browser. So I inputted that and dragged this activity right where it says drop activity here. The new activity will display a blue right here, this little icon, to indicate the bot cannot run until it knows which website you want to open, which will we do next. So next, click on the insert URL here, which is right here, and text must be quoted. Enter in the thing. So we're going to put in quotes, https://www.google.com/ and then end quotes. Okay. And then, so it looks like that. And then number 10, now open this with Internet Explorer in Windows like you normally would, and then we would have our robot workflow hook into it. So basically, you're going to open up your Internet Explorer. So search for Internet Explorer. I have it open right here. So I'm going to just open that up. And I'm going to leave it right here. I'm going to kind of drag it, and I'm going to search for www.google.com. So I have Google on my Internet Explorer, and so I'm going to pick back up on my instructions. And so now open up with Internet Explorer like you normally do, and we'll just have it hooked up. So return to UiPath. Now search for type into an activity. So we're going to find here and type into. And so I find a couple of type into, and it's the one that I need is the keyboard version, type into. And so it's UIA automation, keyboard type into, and I am going to drag and drop this in the do right here. So under do, I have type into, and the activity we'll use to tell search engine what to search, okay? So here it tells you type into indicate an element inside the browser, okay? So click indicate element inside browser in the type into activity, and then the screen will now highlight in blue to inform you that Studio is looking for a target. Select the white portion of the search box in Google. So in order to do this right, you need to have Google kind of opened like this, and we're going to click on indicate element inside the browser. So inside this browser, what element do you want that information where we had to enter in the city? Okay, so I'm going to click on element, and everything turns blue. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to search for this, and I'm going to click on it. And once I do that, I'm going to be taken back into UiPath. So now what happened is UiPath has this idea of where to type the input for that retrieving the weather data from our sequence originally here, okay? So I'm going to go back to my instructions, and it says, so I did that, and it says, then you should be taken back to UiPath with a new screenshot at the type into box, and then click on the text must be quoted below, screenshot, and enter here. With quotes only around weather, so it's taking my variable name, city, that we made in the last time where we had the dialogue. And so it's taking that variable name, and it's going to add that to space weather in Fahrenheit. Where is it? Fahrenheit. Okay, with quotes only around weather in Fahrenheit. So there's a space before weather, and the quotes are only in there. So the reason that we're having quotes is because it's actual text that's going to be added into our program. City is that variable name from the sequence we originally did. So we're here, and then next search for send hotkey. So I'm going into here, and I'm going to send hotkey. So I have that, and so what it's saying is drag and drop this activity right below the type into, and it's saying indicate the same element, which is the element that we did here. Here, indicate element inside browser. So it's saying indicate the same element as you did in step 13 and enter and type in enter into the box below key. So I'm going in here for number 12, and so where it says indicate element inside browser, so I'm going to pull this up here. And hold on one second, what does this section say? So where it's telling us where do you want to put this, right? So what do we want the hotkey to be? So I'm going to pull up Internet Explorer. I'm going to do here, and I'm going to say indicate element inside browser. I'm going to put here. And it's saying, what do you want the key to be? So instead of typing it, I want you to do the drop down with key, because now with the newer version, they have the word enter already for keys. So we just use that, and then pull the instructions back up. So we did that. Now let's press F5. So I'm not going to do the running of that yet. Okay, so actually, so let's try it. So I'm going to press this button here. So I get this thing that says enter city name. I'm going to pick in Miami. It's going to hit OK. It's going to go take that from Google. It's typing in weather in Fahrenheit, and so we have that here. Okay. So now what it's saying is in the instruction, so it's working so far. So this should take you to the weather page in Miami. You're doing great so far. So return to UiPath, search for get full text. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to do get full text. And so I have it right here. And I'm going to drag and drop that underneath the send hotkey. And so indicate element inside browser, select the weather description right below the day, okay, and time information. So I'm going to pull up this on the side right here, and I'm going to get mostly cloudy. So I'm going to indicate the element inside the browser to grab. I'm going to click on that, everything turns white, and I'm going to get mostly cloudy, okay? So I picked up mostly cloudy, and then my instructions say, get the weather description, and then now with the get full text highlighted, and you right click on that field, the arrow is pointing to below, and right click the same field and use create variable and type weather. So once again, what we're doing is we're on this here. So get full text here, and then we're going to click on the left hand side of the field where it's pointing to, which is right here, which we did